been a long time. It's been a long time, but still, I made a tiny bit progress. As in, I read a book, and I've thought about a lot of things. I just wanted to share some of them. I watched a movie recently. This is completely unrelated. And the movie that I watched was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is a very old movie, still kind of influential. The movie had a very interesting part. Not interesting. It's just something I noticed, and which it's basically there's a part in the movie where there's a message being kind of conveyed to kids or parents that you need to read books and not watch TV, and that TVs have commercials and books don't, which to me was a point that I had never thought of before, and I found that really kind of fun and interesting. The fact that books don't have commercials and then TVs do. I mean, YouTube still does. Netflix doesn't, but still. Okay. To the book now. I read a book called Many Lives, Many Masters, which is a book by a doctor, I think a psychiatrist, named Brian Weiss, something. And the book is basically there's a girl, a lady who has a lot of fears, a lot of anxieties, a lot of things she's struggling with, and then she goes to a doctor. She goes to a psychiatrist. She's referred to that psychiatrist by a friend. She also works in the same hospital as the doctor. And then she goes to the doctor. The doctor tries a lot of, and this is, apparently from the book, he's like a super accredited doctor with a very solid, strong resume, went to Yale, I don't know, Princeton, all those collecting badges and names and credentials. So not just anybody who would need to lie and write a fake book to earn money, I guess. And so this doctor tries curing her with conventional means, and it doesn't affect her. I mean, she does uncover some of her traumas in life, like being molested or almost drowning or something like that, but it doesn't concretely help her with her issues. And so there's a point in the book where the doctor is trying to regress her back in time by using hypnosis. And when the girl's hypnotized, he's like, this thing that you're struggling with, where does it come from? Go back to that point or something. And then she goes back enough that she's like she goes back to another lifetime, and she starts saying stuff about I am it's a long time ago. I'm like a old, not a old, but I'm like in some place that's like Egypt or something, blah blah blah. And then the doctor is shocked, and you know, throughout the book, she keeps having these kind of experiences where she goes back to one of her past lifetimes and discovers some issue, not some issue, discovers a way that she died or some trauma in her past life, and it seems to be related with the problem she's having in the current life, which is, I mean, very skeptical of it. But you know, and then yes, most of the book is this. It's not, I mean, there are bigger things, of course, which I'll get to, but the major background throughout all of this is just this, the fact that she keeps regressing to, no, like she, when hypnotized, she can look back at one of her past lifetimes and kind of resolve this knot that she has, which is causing her so much problems right now. Now, yes, addressing the skepticism of all this is the fact that the doctor, first of all, is like a by the book he's not like an intuitive psychic or something. He's just a strong-headed, by the book kind of doctor. All of his credentials back it up. And then there's a point in the book where the girl reveals to the doctor that that you know, your son died when he was 23 years of age, 23 days old. I don't know if I said years. And you know, like, your dad died, your daughter is named after your dad, your son died of a very rare heart condition where so and so happened to your son, and all that, things that the doctor says that no one would ever know. So yeah, like out of the things that the doctors giving in the book to kind of back up his no, I mean, he does say that he has no need to back it up, you know, he's just sharing an experience of his. But it is, I mean, yeah, it is, there are things that would provide a rebuttal against any kind of skepticism. And so that's that. And okay, now relating to like death and this idea that I'm trying to explore, what she says is every time she dies in the book, you know, when she's hypnotized, and she says, you know, I'm in Greece doing something, and now I've grown old and I'm gonna die or something. And when she does die, she expresses that it feels like her soul, her experience is being lifted above her body, and then she can look back and see her body lying there, and then she the supposed soul or spirit that is lifted out of her body is then pulled upwards towards a glowing source of light or something, which is, I mean, that's something. And when she's lifted up to to the light. Now there are some interesting things that happen, according to her, according to the book, which is she gets to this place where there are other souls, and they're all kind of waiting. They're all waiting for something, and also it's yeah. Then now this is the most important thing. What is said is like there are masters, like master spirits or something, in that plane where she gets to after she dies. Also, not every time that she dies, she doesn't always go to that place where it's all souls and then there's a master spirit or something. But yeah, she gets to that place, and these masters, it's not one, there are a few, at least in the book, and then at times when she's hypnotized, she's able to channel these masters. And then, you know, when she's hypnotized, she's speaking in her whispery kind of regular voice, where she says, you know, I'm in my past life, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Also notable that she could be a guy or a girl in her past lives, which is interesting. Not surprising, but interesting. I don't think a girl would have to always be born as a girl. If you're also considering, you know, that souls are just energies and all that. But regardless, yes, so when she's hypnotized and she's sleeping, she's either speaking in her whispery voice about her past lives, and then when she gets to that soul place that you get to after you die, there's a whenever she channels this master spirit, and the master spirit speaks to the doctor. Yeah, it's the master spirit speaking to the doctor. Also, yes, in the book, in many places, like it's mentioned that it's the master spirit teaching the doctor something. Yeah, and there's a lot of emphasis on a soul learning throughout different lifetimes. Yeah, there's an emphasis on a soul learning a lot of different things in different lifetimes, and then repaying your debt or something, you know, if you did something bad. Yeah, there's that. And then when the master speaks through the lady, it's mentioned that it's, you know, a lower, more husky voice, which is also something to think about, you know. Anytime it's mentioned that God is speaking, it's always like, woo, with this old, not old, but bold and husky voice. So that is something to note. And then, yes, the master spirits, I don't know, I'm on the edge. Yeah, there's a lot of room for skepticism, but still, you know, the master spirits, they don't tell you anything like concrete or major. It's moral sciences. That's what they do. They teach you ethics in the book, like, you know, you can't hurt other people, you can't kill other people. I mean, I'm sure they said a lot more things, but I would categorize that as as values and ethics. The only things kind of concretely expressed in the book is the lady mentions that she's been born 86 times. That was a number I picked up. She says that she says, not she or the masters or someone, but they say like there's 7 planes after you die, that you pass through those 7 planes before you get reincarnated. It's also something to note. Of the 7 planes, it's also mentioned that in one of those 7 planes, the soul is allowed to oh, come on. No. Of one of those 7 planes, it's mentioned that the soul is allowed to go back and interact with the beings in the physical world, which would be like people seeing ghosts, or listening, or not listening but hearing their older dead relative speaking to them, or something like that. Not just older, but any dead relative. Yeah, that's the part about the planes and stuff. What else did the book say? I had made a few notes. Let me check. It's a beautiful cloudy day. Oh yeah, the book says, from the doctor's perspective, it says, it talks about healing should not just be physical or medical, where you just give the patient medicines or something. It should be spiritual and so on. I don't know how feasible that is, but yeah. And then, okay, here's my skeptical mind working on this. I don't understand why all of her past lifetimes are kind of in the Western world. That's something that is interesting to me. It is mentioned in the book that souls tend to be reincarnated in groups together. So maybe that makes sense. In that, let's say if I was born in the United States, and the souls I touched, the lives I touched, are all like a group who keep on dying and being reincarnated together. That's also something the girl says, a friend in this life happened to be like a brother in her past life, and so on. Like the groups were dying and being reincarnated kind of together. She used to go to her past lives and say that, I recognize this person, in that I recognize that he is, Stuart or something, where Stuart is someone she knows in her current life. This is interesting because right now, as I'm saying this, I'm reminded of Sadhguru, the guru mystic something of South India, saying kind of the same thing, where he says, I see some people and I call them by their names in their past lives or something. So in that sense, it is interesting. Oh, and the all the reincarnations and all that she had were in like France, in Florence, in Italy, in Germany, and Japan. It seems like the Western world, kind of. I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing about doubting. It shakes your faith, kind of. I need to pause for a while to check maps. Give me a minute. Okay, I'm back. I should at least find a decent place to walk. Practically walking on the highway. Okay, what else? Yes, I was talking about faith and skepticism and all that, which in a way, ignorance is bliss. Not ignorance, or I don't know, faith or acceptance is bliss. Because if you're someone who reads this book and is like instantly convinced, of course there is a next life, and then I don't need to worry about anything. I don't need to be afraid of death. Good for you. I mean, lucky you. But I am a bit skeptical, which is something to keep in mind. Which is something that also relates to this Eastern Hindu Bhagavad Gita thing, where the highest form of yoga is bhakti yoga, which is devotion, and it's not even it's not even the physical yoga, or it's not even the yoga where you have knowledge of everything. It's this complete and utter devotion. Which does make sense, because devotion is just completely believing. It's a complete surrender, which is always difficult to do when you have kind of a rational mind. But again, I'm in the early stages of this journey, so maybe I'll get there, or I'll figure something out. But that is mostly the book. Also, something notable from the book is the girl, in almost all of her lifetime, she's a servant, which is a bit depressing, because it is sad. It's not like, this life is shit, so I hope the next life is better. She's just consistently reborn as a maid or a servant or a helper, and which is sad. Um, I think that's most of it from the book. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, this is something from some time ago, but since I didn't do it then, this is now old news or something. But it always um, surprises me, intrigues me to see something. So what happened is, in the US elections, of course, right now the candidates have changed, but before it was when it was Joe Biden, everyone in the news was consistently like, he could die tomorrow or something, which is insane. I mean, it is again, I cannot put myself in Joe Biden's position, where the entire world is constantly speculating on whether you're gonna die, or where every analyst is like, we don't know if he is elected for a second term, if he'll be able to complete the 4 years or something. It is a crazy position to be in, where the entire world is talking about how close you are to death. It is. I'm not laughing because I'm not. It is strongly like anxiety inducing. So I'm not laughing at the thing, but I'm laughing at the absurdity of it, that everyone was doing that, which is crazy. I mean, I might not agree with all of his policies, but he is a human being. So that was not okay. Just felt like mentioning it because we're in a similar topic, discussing similar stuff. What else? Oh yes, this is also something a bit related. I don't want to get political, but since I'm talking about death and stuff here, it's I just want to mention it from that perspective. Politically, it'll be an entirely different discussion. But with social media, like it's as a whole, but especially in like social media. No, actually, even in YouTube now, you're able to see with the Russia-Ukraine war and with like the atrocities happening in Gaza, people have been so desensitized to death, to death and destruction. It seems routine. And I've always believed that empathy is one of the scariest things possible, because it is you garnering, I don't know if garnering is the correct word, but yes, it is you having enough courage to put yourself in someone else's position and to look at the world through their eyes, which is why I believe like empathy is scary. It takes a tremendous amount of courage, and being desensitized to these things is not good. Is not good in the sense that it's also because it's happening in such a huge scale. Like if it was one person, you could maybe put yourself in the, I don't know, but this erosion of empathy is bad. It's gonna have a lot of bad effects going forward. this inability to let's say put yourself in someone's shoes, in 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 a refugee camp where you could be bombed any second, or I don't know. It all just, it's it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign for humanity as a whole, where 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 we're not able to, where every tragedy is in like 2 seconds transformed into just talking points. It's like, I am sympathetic to the plight of the Palestinian people, of course, but no, it's, I don't know. This erosion of empathy is yeah, it's one of the top worst things that's happening right now, that's, I don't think people are paying attention to. What else? Oh, I also watched the first series of Three Body Problem. Very interesting. It's not quite related to this. I mean, it struck me at the moment where there was the spacecraft or something launch, which was in the last episode. It always strikes me when we start talking about space, to realize like the vastness of all of this. And then that's also one of the things that immediately starts poking holes in any arguments that we make about the universe. It just seems unreasonable. Unreasonable is a wrong word. It just seems unlikely to me that it just seems unlikely. Whenever I look at space and Saturn and then Pluto and then the Milky Way and anything, anytime we observe the vastness of it all, it is striking, and it makes me feel like it's unlikely that us in this little earthly planet have figured out the secrets of the universe, and we know that we're gonna die and be born again or something. I don't know. Seems unlikely. But again, with it's Fermi's paradox, where he says, where is everybody? Yeah, but if it was this vast, there is already someone who's better than us, isn't it? What are the chances that we're the first? And then there are beings in other planets, but they're still Neanderthals or something. I don't know. Oh, regarding this book, there was something else that came to my mind where this was something very interesting from the recent conversation that Tucker Carlson was having with Joe Rogan. As soon as I said Tucker Carlson, people, there's no people. No one's watching this. but stay with me. There was a very interesting point he made. It is all hypotheticals. No, but what this is in a discussion that they're having regarding AI, and um, it's something about it's something about fusing humanity with AI or something, something about a hybrid being that's comprised of a hybrid being that's comprised of something, this AI factor plus humanity. And that seems a bit weird to me, because I can't visualize what it would look like. I mean, with the Neuralink implant, it does. I can see it, but I can't see a more natural fusing. I can't see a more natural fusing of humans with AI, where a baby born out of a womb is already equipped with this AI fusion. So in that way, I can't visualize it. But the point that he made there, or I don't know if it was a point he made, or if it was just something that occurred to me, but I will attribute it to him, because I don't want to take credit for if it's something he said. But the fact about human beings already being a hybrid entity with the thing about human beings already being a hybrid entity with a spiritual component to them, where we are this biological mass of carbon, but we all do believe, and it is plausible, that there is a spiritual component to us, which would be which is very interesting to me. I don't have much to say about it. It's just that let's say we look at human beings as just biological entities that evolved through, I don't know, millions of years, and we got to a point after which we had this spiritual component merged into us or something, and then we became a spiritual hybrid, and then now we are this, I'm just normally a human being who is a mass of something, of course, but I mean, a lot of cultures believe that there is a spiritual component to them. So as natural as that is, as natural as this idea is, where I am a biological mass plus something spiritual, maybe we get to a stage where it is as natural that I am a biological mass plus something spiritual plus something plus some enhancement brought by a kind of merging with AI or something. Looking at it that way, it does seem likely. Not likely, but it's an interesting idea to explore. What else? In this same conversation about... Wait, let me check maps. Back. What was it? Okay, the AI thing. Since we are here and then it is the buzzword or something. Everyone's talking about AI or something. I wanted to look at it from this perspective of consciousness, which is something talked about a lot. I doubt I'll be adding much value to the conversation, but still. And my kind of thought experiment, my kind of thought experiment revolves around this, where I can very easily imagine a world where it's not humans but it's humanoids. No, humanoids means something else. This robots that look and behave like humans. And I ask myself, can you imagine a world like that? Yes. I imagine that they have deeply encoded within them this almost an instinct for self-preservation. Can you imagine? Yes, I can imagine that. Now, yeah, can we today, with all our resources and all that, create a robot that looks, behaves, and acts exactly like a human being? I think yes. I mean, it might not be the best and brightest and most creative of us, but an average regular human being, I think so. That is able to, yeah, they're not able to eat and all that, of course, but other than that, I think so. If it knows that, when your battery is low, you need to go charge. If it knows that, if one of your components doesn't work, you're supposed to go replace it or something. If it has all of this internally encoded, if it's something that it knows how to do, do you see it existing? Yes, I can see it existing. Now let's say that is here and it's right next to me, and let's say it's walking right next to me. If its motions are fluid enough, and then it's wearing a band and a shirt and shoes, am I able to discern it from a human being? No. Let's say the robot human being knows that its circuitry and its hardware makeup isn't gonna last forever, because if it's metal, it's gonna rust or something due to natural forces and reasons. It's gonna stop existing. It's gonna stop functioning, let's say. Can I imagine that? Yes, of course. And so the same robot, when it's in its vitality, when it's fresh and all of its joints work well and all of its circuitry is firing well, can you imagine it building another robot like itself when it's in its prime, so that when it's old, that other newly created robot can take care of it? or just so that this new robotic species keeps moving forward. Can you imagine? Yes, I can. So in that way, now it's gotten to, it might not reproduce the same way we do, it might not eat, but at this point it is behaving like a conscious human being. I mean, I look at another human being and I don't know what's going on in their head. I know there's an instinct that's causing them to do something, but I don't know why at the point someone's doing something, I cannot see the world through their eyes no matter how much I try. I can project my feelings, which is where, empathy, I think, comes from, where you see someone else and then you put yourself in their shoes and you try to see the world, and then oh my god, it would be horrible to have your son be blown into pieces, and then you feel really bad, and then you try to do things to help improve their life. But empathy still is a projection of your feelings onto someone else's situation. And battery died almost, but I've got a power bank, so that's fine. What was I saying? The thing about the robots, and yes, I can't put myself in the position of another person. I can't see the world through their eyes. I can't see the world through a dog's eyes or a cat's eyes. But I don't know if I would say a dog or cat is conscious. I don't know, but this human-like robot that we just created in our minds, it's going to be more efficient at doing things because it's going to have a higher degree of focus. It's going to be able to still do things. So compared to an average human who's not a creative genius in the world, it is still I don't know how I would differentiate them other than again, if it's sick, it won't go to a hospital. Maybe it'll go to a robot garage or something, but that too, maybe science gets to a point where the robot realizes that carbon is the one that's most abundant in this planet, so it would eventually replace its hardware with carbon. I don't know, but I see it as being something that's possible. And I need to get off the highway. Okay, the first chance I get, I'm gonna get off the highway. But yes, let's imagine an elephant that's crushing a human skull. It's slowly pressing on the human skull. And it's, the human's functional up to a point, and then something goes wrong, poof, and then it's dead. I see that being very similar to, let's say, a clock that's running, and I slowly pull out the battery from the clock, and at a point it's just gonna stop running. And I can imagine doing the same thing with this robot human. Like us humans too, we have something in us that's keeping us going, other than like the vitality of the human being. There is something that's keeping us going. I'm not even talking about the metaphysical, it's just there's something causing us to live. Maybe it's like one thing, maybe it's 10 things combined together, like, you know, the lungs are working, and then the liver's working, and then the heart's working. Any one of these things, if it stops working, we die or something. And then there are gonna be parallels of this with the robot as well. So every time we talk about consciousness, it's approached from like a brain perspective, where, you know, our brain is capable of doing so much. Is a machine able to do something like that? Let's say we approach it from a physical perspective, where I recreate a human, like something that looks exactly human, and it's standing right next to me. How do you say it's not conscious if it's doing everything that a human being is doing? How do you say it's, you know, that way I could look at, you know, you could look at like let's say you look at someone who's not very, I don't want to say this like negatively, but let's imagine someone who's not one of the brightest human minds, who just, you know, does their everyday things, and it's not bad at all. Like, they just do their regular stuff. They work every day, and then they go to the gym, and then they do something, and they live this regular life every day. How would you be able to distinguish that thing from this new robot creature that you just built? How could you say the one is conscious and the other isn't, if they're both doing their things in their own manner? And then now let's say, you know, when human beings are born, let's assume that everything that we know how to do, like a bird knows how to make a nest, I know how to, like, let's say my lungs know how to start when I'm born, my liver knows how to do its thing when it's born, my heart knows how to, that it needs to pump when it's created in the womb or something. Let's assume all of that comes from like a DNA or something, you know. It's all stored somewhere so internally that from the point of conception it's transferred from existing humans to the new human being formed, and then through 9 months. Stables, really nice. Yeah, like from the point of conception where the you know, the sperm and the egg come together, from that point the knowledge has already been transferred that a heart needs to know how to pump, and so on. So even if I start with that assumption, I can imagine a robot doing that when all of its joints are amazing, that it, you know, putting all of its knowledge in like a tiny chip and then putting it into a new robot that's gonna live for another 500 years, assuming that, you know, robot lifetimes are gonna be better than ours. So I don't know. if it starts off with this, at this point, like this point that we are in right now, where it's amassed all of human knowledge, there is the question, of course, there is the question about whether it's able to do genuinely new things or not. There is that question. But can it function in an indistinguishable manner to that, in a manner indistinguishable to that of a human being? Absolutely. Is my opinion on AI and consciousness and all that. AI gaining consciousness or something. Maybe I don't know. What would AI gaining consciousness mean? Like a computer knowing, a computer being aware of itself. The reason I put it into a human body is because then it's able to do things. It doesn't need to be a human body. It can just be, a mobile entity with some limbs that can do things. And the doing things is not for the purpose of doing it, but rather for a purpose of keeping itself going. But considering it as only but I don't know. Maybe it's my flaw that I'm not able to imagine or comprehend this. Like, what would it be? Would it be lines of code? Like the movies, It's alive or something and you destroy some place and then it's already moved into another network or something. I don't know. Oh, sunflowers. Sunflowers are all sad because of the lack of sun. I'm not sad. It's a nice day. It's a good day to be alive. That is it. It took me months to read a simple tiny book. I hope I'm able to do better next time. And I hope I'm able to get to the bottom of whatever all of this is. That's it. See you. Bye-bye. I'm back in the city. I just realized there was something else also that I wanted to talk about. And so I'm just gonna make that point really quick, which is the girl mentions that when she dies, she goes through those 7 stages or something and she gets reincarnated. And I mean, maybe this is my brain that's not able to comprehend these other dimensions that exist or something, but looking at it from this little 3-dimensional brain that I have, it almost feels like we're a prisoner, like, okay, even if you're like you're born, you live, you die, you're born again, you live, you die, it's not particularly exciting, is it? And then there's a Louis C.K. Louis C.K. Renowned comedian. He has a bit where someone like dies and goes to heaven or something, and then he says, "What do I do now?" and then God says, "You just stand here with me now for eternity," or something. So in that case too, even if you're like you die and you go to heaven or something, and you're not born again, but if that is all that there is, it is, I don't know. I still feel like you're a prisoner almost. Like you're stuck in a little box. Now you're stuck in a bigger box. I feel like I've made this point already before. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. Beautiful rainy day here in Paris. See you, bye.